Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another World of Warcraft video where we're playing World of Warcraft, and Bellular dropped a video. Blizzard addressed all the midnight dramas. I recorded a video about the microtransactions. I genuinely forgot to upload it. My take on it is, I don't know why anyone was surprised. I'm not saying it's good by any stretch of the imagination or anything along those lines, but I guess I was just kind of confused. I sat there and I was like, I mean, at least myself, coming from gacha games, it's pretty normal, this type of deal. But, yeah, let's see what the deal is. Obviously, the coin currency is shitty, right? It should just be if you want to buy, let's say, a chair or a house material, whatever, you buy it for real-life money instead of making a fake currency to then transfer to another currency. It's just a tactic for them to sell as much money as possible. But, yeah, very confused by the reaction. I didn't expect anything more, but let's see.
Be about this. And
oh, whoopsies.
Welcome back to the Warcraft news. You know what? It would not be a proper alpha cycle without serious controversy.
True.
This time, it's actually even more than the add-on wars. Blizzard have decided to add a new paid currency to World of Warcraft, and that's had about the response that you would expect. But actually, there is a lot more than meets the eye with that story. And elsewhere, Ian actually spoke to add-on developers directly. He finally cleared up what he thinks is acceptable and is not acceptable. And he's even given us a definitive answer to the World of Warcraft on console question.
Yeah.
And even
I heard he said no. I don't know if I don't know, like, if they're not putting the game on console, which I feel like you want my honest opinion. I don't know if this game should be on console. I'm gonna be very transparent with you. I don't know if this is a game that consoles could really. I just can't imagine a console person trying to raid. I'm not trying to be an elitist or some shit, but I just genuinely don't know how it works. With that being said, you know, if they're not putting it on console, then it really is that the new player experience is so dog shit that they kind of nerfed everything to try to hopefully just get more subs, right? But yeah,
through a little bit of shade at you guys. Right,
a little bit of shade.
Steel. What is it? Well, it's WoW's new virtual currency. What is it for? It's for housing items and housing items only. What kind of items? We don't exactly know yet. But here's why everyone's alarm bell is going off. Virtual currency is one of the strongest dark patterns that is used in games. And by dark pattern, I mean psychological manipulation that is designed to get you to pay more. You see, that's because virtual currencies hide how much you are actually spending. And they'll usually offer discounts for larger packs, so you do actually feel the urge to buy more than
you buy your top up. $100 pack gives you an extra $100 in return, therefore you think you're getting more money. In reality, you're just spending $100, right? And like, yes, I guess technically you are getting more out of it. However, they didn't need to put it. 07 Gacha, this is a direct result of Genshin Impact becoming a fucking phenomenon the way it is. Like, I don't care if you like the game, if you dislike the game, if you want to, you know, be a Genshin stan, this is a direct result of that. You know, this is why people like myself, when I talk about bad gacha practices, it's important to discuss. I mean, people get really butthurt about it, but now you can see why. I mean, it's just bleeding into regular games. It's kind of their version of battle passes in the sense of before DLC was normal. Well, it wasn't normal, but I think there was like a $4 or $5 DLC in Skyrim. Everyone said that's crazy. Then games started putting out DLCs, and then Fortnite came around, and then they started putting out battle passes, and everyone put out battle passes, and etc. You know, this is the next evolution. It's gacha currencies and gacha in itself. It's just bad. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. Of course they do, because it makes so much money and nobody bats an eye, right? So it makes sense. That's why I wasn't surprised about this. Like, I never. Not at one point in my mind did I think that everything in the house would either be free or like this wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities. Let's go gambling. Oh, dang it. Oh, dang it. Like, yeah, it felt like it was pretty obvious,
you know,
right?
You feel like a stupid idiot who doesn't take the smart, rational deal. And then, of course, with a virtual currency, you've often got leftovers because of how the item prices are designed. So, naturally, you feel like you've wasted a bit. And to avoid wasting, you then may buy a little bit more so that you can spend your wasted currency in something. Now, at first glance, with this coming in, WoW is becoming more aggressively monetized and with blatantly obvious tactics. The kinds of tactics that, by the way, Europe is, getting legally interested in.
Yeah.
And obviously, people aren't happy about this. and I think they have got every right to be concerned.
For sure.
But here's where it gets interesting. Blizzard are actually adamant that they've got good reasons for using it. In their blog post, they promise that they are different. For example, they say the ratio of Hearthstone to real money is fixed and easy to understand. They say that the item costs are going to be player-friendly to minimize leftovers, and they also say that housing items will always be available on their own. Basically, so you won't...
Listen, I'm going to be real with you. The whole statement of... sidebar, let me know if the video's a little low. It's a little low on my end for me. The whole statement of the housing prices will always be fixed, I mean, that might be true, but their intention of adding an additional currency is simply just for them to make more money, right? Like, it is what it is. That's how the gaming world works. That's how these things work. So for them to kind of be like, oh, don't worry, it's player-friendly. It's not. Like, it inherently is not player-friendly. That's just kind of like a stupid fucking thing to say. You know what I mean? Maybe pause the music? True. 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 But yeah, that's just like a really kind of tone-deaf thing. Don't worry, guys. The currency we made so that way you could feel like you need to spend more money, it's really player-friendly. I promise you. It's not that bad. Like, it's like, oh, okay. Like, and motherfuckers will sit there and believe that shit. Didn't even realize the music's here. I kind of forgot about it.
Won't be forced into buying a
Video,
bundle
good, thank you.
just to get the one thing that you actually want. And they also say that the store will not sell anything that is core to your race or core to your class, in terms of, its identity, its vibe, or anything that is already existing in Azeroth. Which all does, I guess, sound better. But there is a rather massive elephant in the room, and it's actually one that they addressed as well. And that's that they already have a virtual currency. It's called Battle.net Balance. So
I didn't know that.
Why add Hearthstone? Well, Battle.net Balance is tied to real money. I mean, whenever you look at your BNet balance, it's not in weird mystery box. It's in your currency. And that actually adds loads of legal stipulations.
Absolutely.
And according to Blizzard, it makes buying housing items a, quote, inefficient, inconvenient, and often tedious process.
I agree. Guys, sorry, YouTube, had to pee.
And on that, they're not exactly lying.
Fried chicken all alone, sweetheart.
Because right now, buying items with Battle.net Balance uses the same process as buying something with real money, where you've got to go through the whole store checkout for every individual chair or lamp that you want, which is a pain in the ass for us, but it would also change things for Blizzard as well. You see, selling individual items for tiny prices just would not work, and it wouldn't work because of payment processing fees. Often those do have a percentage of like transaction element, but they also will have a minimum fixed price. So basically they would rather have the bit that involves payment processing be one purchase instead of lots of little ones. And the upshot of that is that they would have to treat the housing items like the current store, where it would be more about big expensive bundles, and yes, that would suck for housing. So, they say that with Hearthstone, decorating your house is going to be an easier thing. You know, like the trading post or vendors in-game. And it would genuinely be a better user experience. And I guess I do agree that, yeah, sure, clicking the buttons would be easier. There'd be less paper cuts. Now, obviously, there being less paper cuts is probably good for using that system, but it also is good for Blizzard earning more money, and also it's something that a lot of people just... like, basically, do not want in any way.
Of course.
So, should we still be frustrated about Hearthstone? Well, without it, I think it is true that the user experience would kind of suck. That's for some regulatory reasons, like whenever you're a one-to-one real currency thing, and also just how the store currently works, and some of the financial stuff, right, with the payment processing fees.
I'm getting beat up right now.
Some of that is just Blizzard's problem, and I've certainly got less sympathy for them than, say, someone in a local shop who would rather you pay cash because they don't want to be eaten alive by payment processing fees.
Okay.
But, you know, there is bad in this, because adding it gives Blizzard the power to abuse it. It is a dark pattern. Even if implemented carefully, it will make people spend more money, which is, you know, quite obviously their end goal. It's just that the more that spending is obfuscated from real money, and the more, you know, other little bad patterns come in, well, the worse it is.
I just don't know why. Well, like, I understand the processing fees and shit, but at the end of the day, like, again, I would not trust Blizzard on this. I personally have a little bit more faith in, like, let's say the class reworks and shit, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I think this is going to be perfectly fine. Like, I can easily see this just being annoying. And again, kind of similar to every single gacha game. Also, what up, Sean? What up, baby? Yeah, there's no way they could package independent items at low cost. Alternative, something like they're doing a package or concept packs for a larger price that makes it worthwhile. So do you think this is the best solution? Like, do you think this is like the only thing they could do to kind of sell items on, you know, sell these type of items, like genuinely?
Psychologically,
also, what up, Sean? I love you, baby.
It begins to feel like it's combative with the audience, like it's Blizzard trying to, you know, weaponize your psychology to get more money, which certainly is a lot less straightforward than just, hello, we have a video game, it's $15 a month. Nice and simple, everyone's incentives are aligned. Whereas in a situation like this, perhaps our incentives are not aligned. Perhaps Blizzard now has a lever that they can pull harder and harder and harder as time goes on. The question is, will they have the restraint to, yes, do this system which we don't like, but do it in a way that is not typical of the worst of gaming? The question may also be, even if Blizzard did have the restraint, would the incentives under which they exist mean that the restraint wouldn't matter? Because they'll...
I will say, I'm also not like... I would have preferred them to sell smaller items into packs for a total cost. Example, a wizard set that includes like a set of chairs, tables, wardrobes, blah, 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 and the cost is increased to the point that's profitable for them but also feels worthwhile for the consumer. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I also don't necessarily know what they're going to be selling. Like, I feel like we have to sit down and really wait to see what the housing system looks like. I get why people are upset. I truly do. But, again, this is something I kind of expected. But I'm not going to, like, go crazy about it. Be like, oh, my God, the game is dying. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, like, doom post or some shit like that. But I'm also not going to defend them and be like, oh, no, I think everything's going to be fine and whatnot. I'm sure they're going to have the same top-up shit that Genshin Impact does and all the other games, etc. It's probably going to be the same song and dance. But, I mean, if the items in the shop are really not as significant, or you can get a plethora of items for free that look good and make your house look pretty, am I going to bitch about it? I don't know, probably. Then I can make like $2 off a video, you know?
I'll be forced into doing things. There's another question with this, though, which is basically, is this a bit of a rug pull? On that front, I have to say, no, this is not a rug pull.
No.
They did say that housing would have a paid store element. This is something that we have pretty much always known about.
True.
While I think a lot of us accepted or knew that there would be a store, that it has started off looking like a literal free-to-play microtransaction trap is not exactly a public relations win.
I think WoW needs to get
so Hearthstone is a double-edged sword. Yes, it does solve some real-world problems, but it does that at a cost. Now, there has been a saving grace here, and that is that Blizzard has been transparent with us. That's the right thing to do, and the reason why being transparent is good is because it actually gives us ammo that we can use against them if they go against what they've said. If they step too far into the more manipulative side of things. Because then that would turn the story away from, oh, grumbly players are grumbling, to, we said we would not do something, then we did it and people have noticed, which I think is a far more compelling narrative for actually effectuating change, should the worst come to pass. And in terms of metrics, Blizzard said that the ratio of mounts available in World of Warcraft to mounts that are on the store should be a good, kind of like, a good number, a good thing to think about when we try to consider how many Hearthstone paid items there will be versus just regular.
I don't know the conversion. Is that a lot? I've never bought them out. I've never bought them out or looked into buying them out. Like, is that a good amount of stuff, or is it a little shitty? Like, does anyone know?
Housing items. Now,
I mean, I'm sure you guys know.
Blizzard,
I don't, though.
I understand what you're trying to do there, and I get the good bit of it, but I'm also not stupid, and I am onto you, because it's a false equivalence. If you take a look at the store amounts, I think you do see that quite often those store amounts are cut above the average quality of amount that you would get in the game. And that means that in their blog post, Blizzard have committed to roughly a ratio of paid to non-paid, but they have not committed to quality parity. And going forward, that is the thing I'll be watching like a hawk. On to our next story. Bellular. This is a good one. So, add-on devs have been
bless the add-on stuff. All right,
furious with Blizzard. You see, on alpha builds, there promises that add-ons will still be able to customize things.
I know weakauras is pissed. They're done with Midnight, or at least currently to my knowledge. But wasn't there another add-on that was really popular that kind of gave up? I don't remember the name of it, but I'm pretty sure there was another add-on developer saying, "Fuck this shit. We're not doing anything for midnight." I just don't know the name of them. But I'm pretty sure that's a thing as well.
Things have sometimes been true, but
Evil
quite
UI,
often
there you go.
not really been true at all.
There's way more
Last
Evil
week,
UI.
Ian
Okay,
Hazelcoast's
UI.
game
There you
director
go. Boom.
stepped
Boom.
into the situation personally. He and one of the UI team met with the authors of DBM and Bigwigs. The meeting itself wasn't recorded, but Mystical released a video that went over everything that they learned. And with that, finally, we now know what Blizzard are working towards and what they are definitely absolutely not going towards. And we finally actually know what Blizzard considers to be gameplay. So, let's get to what we've actually learned.
Oh, he's going
First,
over
it
everything.
seems that Blizzard really are trying, at least from their own perspective, which, you know, may or may not mesh with yours. But anyway, we have seen that every alpha build has made new concessions, but they are taking small steps. But as we've seen those concessions,
I'm excited for this. I am excited to see how this works out, to be honest with you. Clearly, I have no fucking experience in the end game, and I'm a completely new player, and I don't know how the raids work and whatnot. But for them to condense everything to the point where you can work, and hypothetically, I could load up the fucking game and have everything in the game, all the trackers, all the sound alerts, or at least, you know, it's not going to be the same sound alerts you like or the same ones you had before, but all of that in the game for me to do, be readily available there without an add-on or making a weakora, I think is fucking sick. And obviously them dumbing down the classes and shit, but you know, I maybe that's me having a positive outlook as opposed to negative like everyone else is.
Also, steps are taking to avoid add-ons becoming necessary again. So in real terms, add-ons can make cast bars again. This was a large worry.
Cool.
And Mystical suggests that this could be used for very basic cooldown tracking, but it actually would be unreliable. We also know that secondary resources will be made trackable. That's things like stagger and your arcane charges. Now for healers, they're looking at opening up more unit frame options, things like absorbs and predicted heals, so that they can also be customized. Over on the raid warning front, Blizzard knows they've not hit the mark, and over the
I always prefer the option to be given an infinite or larger dev team, aka the player base, to solve problems waiting for Blizzard to prioritize it. I don't even necessarily disagree with you, but I think coming from a perspective of people wanting to just play the fucking game and them realizing, hey, maybe this is a lot. Like, you know, I mean, we all had this conversation. I don't disagree. Like, it should be able to have add-ons be available and whatnot. But, you know, it's a lot for someone to try to come in and play this fucking video game. And this is supposedly going to help that out a little bit. So maybe you can get more people to play. But who knows how well it'll work. Brewmaster was not getting a stagger until Shock was wild as fuck. Or now. Why does it say now? I thought it said Shock. Fucking 7TV, but yeah.
While they're looking to add their own RP timers and wipe reports, they'll also do things like show cast counts. That's really important for things like tracking whether it's been the third or the fourth raid wide from a boss. And that's absolutely key for raid leaders and healers, who of course are going to be organizing all of the utility and the externals that can keep people alive. And for accessibility reasons, they are going to add a way for add-ons to trigger sounds on certain boss casts.
Awesome, that's great.
They won't do it for debuffs, though, just for spell casts.
Oh, well.
So overall, it's a notable improvement, and I'd say that by the end of the beta, we might have a lot of the previously add-on only features actually be there in the game. But that's actually not the most interesting part of this. Because we've also learned what Blizzard are absolutely against. So here's that. Blizzard will not let add-ons emphasize spells beyond what the base game already does. And right now, that means no countdown timer for an incoming spell. And Ian actually clarified this later on Reddit. He said that they want...
What's the point of... Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm genuinely asking. Correct? Like, please educate me. Why would you be mad at that? Is it because you're just used to the fact that you're having an add-on that's making it easier? Like, in theory, if you're having to pay attention to the cooldown in the game and not have an add-on for it, you know, it's more things for you to track. Wouldn't it technically make it harder? Like, am I off base here? I don't know. Again, I'm genuinely asking. What the fuck do I know? But I feel like I'm upset because I need to be upset about something. True, Sean. Absolutely. You know what? I love how you just understand me, bro. You understand me in the World of Warcraft community, you know? It helps with stuff like if you need to save cooldowns. But shouldn't you like learn the mechanics and know that, though? Like, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to using an add-on for it. Because people think they're good, but they aren't good enough to track the cooldowns is crazy with their own brain. I feel like, but that's what I'm saying, right? It's like I read this and I read what they're saying here, and I'm like, okay, like, am I mad? Like, why I gotta fucking get good at the game if I want to do like a high-end top-tier raid? Like, you know, obviously people with accessibility issues and whatnot. Sure. Let me memorize the spell cooldowns of 1,000+ bosses in the game. Why do you need to memorize 1,000+ bosses? Also, I mean, like, low-key, I ain't gonna lie to you, you'd be having some elitist takes. I feel like you would. For every raid I did, if you're doing the current content, right? I feel like saying 1,000 bosses is a little disingenuous. You're not, like, you're not running fucking Burning Crusade raids or Molten Core raids. You would be running the current raids. As much as we meme on this, people aren't clearing mythic progress that are absolutely terra bad. People aren't clearing mythic progress that are absolutely terra bad. So you're saying that they're still good even with this. I'm not saying that they're not good players. You know what? I'm going to reach out to someone that I know. Well, I don't know them. I don't know them personally, but I have a liaison. I'm going to reach out to a pro. I'm actually going to try to see if I can reach out to a pro this week.
The game to do all of the telegraphing itself, including their own audio cues. That means that they'll add a countdown into the base game if they think it's necessary for, you know, a boss fight or something. But he's not going to let features like that be add-on only things that, of course, would then create a capability disparity between different people in the player base.
For sure.
Then there's renaming spells. So the devs asked for that feature, and Blizzard actually said no. Essentially, they said that part of playing WoW is game knowledge, and they want you to learn what abilities actually do, instead of just reading frontal. Because, of course, something may be a frontal, but not all frontals are equal. And as much as I know that's going to be frustrating to some, I can totally see why game designers would like to have control over how their game telegraphs things.
This fucking seems like a normal ass to me. Bro, you can just text me. Don't need to blow up my spot. True. Don't worry, I'm right here. God bless. To be honest, that's one of the things I always preferred about Final Fantasy 14. You don't get to use all those mods. It gets good or get dead. Some people use third-party shit, but that's a different discussion. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just, like, you know, casuals can turn into hardcore players, right? There is a pathway for any video game for you to start off as a casual to get into a top tier, right? Everyone starts off at some point as a casual because they're testing out the game to see if they like it. And when you just have, granted, this could absolutely backfire and it could be complete dog shit. I can't copy my character over yet. I haven't tested my warrior. When you start, like, putting tons of roadblocks that are not in the game, or, like, for people, despite how easy you might say it's like it is to create a weakauras or some shit, like, people just don't want to deal with that. Like they just don't. You know what I mean? It's like an objective fact. If they did, they probably wouldn't be doing this, and they'd be sharing their subscription numbers right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the truth. I don't know. Some of the things that I hear them changing, I'm like, okay, like, fucking, like, all right, man. Like, what the fuck? Okay. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't need context. I need Ethan's winning smile. True lemonade. True. Yes, sir. You know me, baby. I always be smiling, whatever, you know. It's just like, okay.
Ability names.
To be honest, I never in 15 years of people joining Radio Ghost had anyone push back on downloading deadly boss mods. But do you think, like, a genuine question, is that people who started playing the game and then was like, oh, let me try this for the first time? Or these people who have sat there and actually have played the game and been involved with mods before to the point where, like, okay, yeah, this is just a regular thing. Right? Again, I would download a mod because I want to become a hardcore player. But a normal human being, I don't think they would do that. Well, I know they wouldn't do that. It's not a think thing. It's clearly what's happening. If they were doing that, we wouldn't be in this situation. It's not even a process of me thinking about it.
What ties all of those, like, hard no things together is that if it's something.
My point is, anyone joining a raid is invested at that point.
Add-ons will not.
Yes, but how can you get to that point? If the progression in retail sucks cock, and then in order for you look up and you see, oh, I want to get better, and then you see that barrier to entry there, you then will not get more hardcore players. It's a regular thing to everyone you find endgame by that point. Yeah, I think we just have different perspectives. I think I have a very different perspective between both of you two as like a new player. Genuinely, they're clearly their mission statement, whether I like it, you like it, whoever likes it or not, is simply we want more players and it wants to be more accessible for other people to join and play the game. That's what they want. You could say that it's not that big of a barrier entry. All hardcore players do it. You're not generating more hardcore players if the casuals are not willing to play your game for more than an hour or whatever metric. Let me not be disingenuous, say an hour, whatever the case may be. Like that is their goal. So, but it's a bad rep. It is a bad rep. It is a bad rep that you have to download a million fucking mods. I don't care. I've only ever used the Act on 14 DPS person, and even then I use myself personal progression track. I can see why I fuck up the rotations. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. But, like, if I play a game, right, like, if I'm playing a video game, just... And I have to go to an outside source to get information or to get the game for me to function, to have a fighting chance to be a part of, like, a guild or something, that's a shit feeling. It's just like, again, I'm mentally ill, so I don't care, personally, but it's a shit feeling for most of the people. So you're not pointless comparison. I said before, mods won't make a difference to any player in the first 100 hours of the game. How does a player get to the first 100th hour if they get discouraged by playing the game? You level up to retail. You want to do a mythic. You want to do a raid. They tell you you need an add-on. You need an add-on. I don't know what other way you want me to say it. It's like actually in English. You know what I mean? You're playing a game like WoW brings me a nostalgic feeling. Yo, what up, Dot? What up, baby? What's good, brother? What's good, man?
So where do we stand on this? Well, we know what explicitly will not be allowed, and that's cleared up a lot of lingering doubt. And we know
Shine. If someone gets filtered by the games and the community's requirements to play or get involved in any type of that end game content, they can never get to 100 hours. That's the point, brother. That's like, again, you don't need to like it, but that's what's happening right now. Like, that's actively what's happening.
And add-ons will not be allowed to do that. So where do we stand on this? Well, we know what explicitly will not be allowed, and that's cleared up a lot of lingering doubt. And we know what Blizzard are.
If they were filtered before the mods, then this change wouldn't be happening. There's no data to prove that. It's just a baseless claim, and I love you, but you're just being an elitist. Like, that just, it is what it is. You were being an elitist. We can't sit here and say they were filtered beforehand. If they were, this wouldn't be fucking happening, brother. Like, they wouldn't be dumbing down the classes, changing the encounters, getting rid of weak auras if they weren't filtered beforehand. I can only say for the 50-year experience, the hypothetical person you're talking about has never applied to any guild I've ever been a part of. I think they filtered before they ever hit the cap. I truly believe there has to be some sort of data showing otherwise, because I don't know why they would make this choice then. I truly believe that. Like, there has to be some data they have that we do not have. I'm a bigger elitist. I think you're garbage if you need to add on to mod raids. Yeah, I listen, man, I agree with you. I'm with you on that. I'm going to be real with you. If I need to go to an outside resource to play a game optimally or get involved in something, it's fucking ass.
Are working towards implementing, which is good, because there were a few things that did appear to be missing, and that was real concerning to people, especially to the healers. And crucially, we know they'll draw a hard line at anything that gives add-on users an advantage. Which, you know what? I would say is coming close to a perfect outcome.
What the fuck?
Because if something gives add-on users an advantage, then people will feel pressured to use add-ons.
Wow.
And then,
really, Bellular?
Ensure the game has the intended level of difficulty, Wizards encounter designers will start having to design around the existence of add-ons.
Wow.
That is something that has widely been seen to have made World of Warcraft kind of just go off on its own direction with its own brand of difficulty.
It's almost like I said that.
Does seem to be a fundamentally limited appeal.
Wow.
But as much as I'd like to say that's that, it's actually not, because there's one question still in the air, and that is the question of damage meters. It's almost beta, and damage meters still have not been working on the Midnight Alpha. And of all the base UI changes, I think this one has been the most controversial, because we really need them to be good. Now, after weeks of silence, we've actually got an update.
They seem pretty
The final
alright,
alpha
actually.
build has had some crucial additions.
We should mess with it.
Now, the in-game DPS meters have gotten features that do make them look at least a few steps closer to details. Before, all that we had on them was damage and healing for the current fight, but now we see UI options to track interrupts and dispels, and there is the familiar segment option. That's really good, and it means you'll be able to track interrupts over, say, a whole dungeon or just one boss within a dungeon.
Okay.
That's good. It's a major step forward, but sadly, it is just a fraction of what Details can do. And the thing about Details is it doesn't really give you any, like, combat advantage when you're playing the game. It's just useful information to have. So, yeah, we could really feel like there's been a loss if this doesn't go well. What I would say, though, is it appears to be being actively developed, so I guess we can hold out hope for it being in a good stage by the launch. And speaking of the launch, there's actually one launch that is not going to be happening. Ian was interviewed by Unshackled Fury, and it was a bit of a strange one, especially because he took the opportunity to fire a few shots at me and you. In a few ways, actually.
Damn, he said y'all motherfuckers whack as hell. Kind of, sort of, it becomes a toxic cycle. They've made some fights so complicated with the idea that add-ons will solve them. Exactly. Yeah, again, it's a fine middle ground that there's no complete black and white answer. However, I'm led to believe that more than likely people are clearly having a problem with this game or getting involved in it, which is why these changes are occurring, right? Could you also say that these changes are occurring so that way maybe devs can be quote-unquote lazy and make bosses and that are not as, like, kind of, I don't want to say easier per se. I think easier would be a bad word, but, like, not fully revolving around add-ons so they don't have to stress as much. That's absolutely a possibility as well. But I think for the overall health, they're looking at it from the perspective of the overall health of the game for the casual player. We're getting rid of this. You cannot make a hardcore player if they won't get through certain things. In a sense, I'm based. I don't think using a parser to track person question, uploading your logs, looking at the playback, say you play is best, etc. Yeah, no, I get you. Are they having a problem? I believe the last time we were getting AOTC higher rates than ever before. I don't know what AOTC means. To be very transparent with you, I won't even sit here and lie to you. Just straight up. Yeah, in my opinion, this is more of them having to design encounters by world and effectively pushing the gap between normals and progress further than Ben. Oh, so you almost said exactly what I said. What the hell? Telling you we're like twins.
You know what?
It's like a design thing.
So, Jazz from Windows Central brought up Xbox. Now, we've all been talking about eventually getting a console release, and that's been backed up by Xbox's recent news, and of course, Midnight pruning buttons and add-ons. Ian's put it fairly definitively here. He said that if they were doing that, they would have no reason to hide it. So no WoW on console, and right now they are focused on PC. I entirely believe that, but as we covered in last week's news, the next Xbox is just a PC. At least that's what it seems thus far. So, you know, there's really no difference between putting your PC under your television and calling it a console. Though if they were to take that seriously, they would need to make something akin to an add-on called console port, but, you know, official. There was another answer, though, and it's one that felt a little bit pointed, and it's a smart one. So, Ian has been around WoW forever, way back since he was leading raids for Elitist Jerks. Elitist Jerks was a guild, but also like a forum, and on that forum, a lot of WoW's more like cutting-edge.
Elitist Jerk too?
This is going way back in the day. But anyway, he does actually know how the community's changed, and that's what he was asked about in the interview. And he said that when he talks to people like you or me about their experience of the game, something...
An example of this is Mythic Plus change of the war within. The discourse around Mythic Plus beforehand was at the high end. Everyone was very anti-affix, and that became broad community view, even by the people who weren't pushing high keys at all. They had to realize that these groups of players were almost playing different games. The talking point has now vanished almost completely because it was being driven by very legitimate and real complaints of a vocal minority in the player base who were writing the guides, streaming, and making videos. Okay.
Curious happens. And I suppose it's maybe more you than me. I hate saying that, but basically... It's because he says he kind of knows what videos people have been watching lately based on what they say. It's kind of my fault. And, you know, everyone else who does vaguely the same thing as me. But, you know, I say fault in a joking way. I think it's more just something about modern media dynamics. Now, to be clear, Ian was not mean about this. It's not like he said, oh, people are just parrots. You know, there's stupid parrots just repeating stuff from stupid influencers. No, he did say that it's all still valid feedback. It's just that from his perspective, over time, community opinions have gotten less personal and more driven by what influencers say.
Sure.
And I think that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Because look, the way we consume media has completely changed. Way back in the day, I mean, I was listening to Warcraft radio, but the media ecosystem that exists around any game or any topic back then is nowhere near what it is today. And now we're able to extend our enjoyment of playing a game into consuming content about that game. And that is something that just did not exist back then in the way which it does now. And that does mean that, you know, if there's things that you're feeling and you listen to a video, or I listen to a video, and the things in that video basically fit basically how you feel, then yeah, you'll be like, that was pointed out there. And that's what I think. Okay. And of course, that video will put attention onto the thing that you feel, and maybe give you words to express how you feel about that.
Pretty much saying he's filtering you out, bitches. Okay.
From Ian's perspective,
welcome back, zombie. What up, baby?
Videos is being talked about.
Welcome back, brother.
The bit that I will add into the conversation is, for the most part, I think that if people in videos are saying completely wacky bullshit and people don't agree with it, then yeah, probably won't catch on. But what it does highlight is the responsibility to get things right. Because if you lie, or if you just, you know, confidently get something wrong, and people don't have a way to find out that you've been wrong and to get a fact check on it, then that will materially cause damage. So if that's something that we ever end up doing here, know that's an accident, but also know that I really...
Yeah, I think it was a good video, man. I think at the end of the day, right now we're in the beta. We'll have to see. The character transfer is still currently not working. I could try it again real quick just to see. But I'm excited to see where it goes. My beta bugged out in a real weird way. I got 2 level 80 characters that I didn't make, a rogue and a mage. Let's go. We take those. Great video from Bellular. We'll have to see what happens. I think clearly there's a problem, right? And so they're trying to fix it. Will it work? Who the fuck knows? Well, I'll see you boys in the next one.